Ever since Jeffrey Epstein got arrested, we've been bombarded with shocking disclosures about his alleged exploitation of underage girls right under our noses. The case is filled with horrifying specifics, ranging from Epstein's high-profile acquaintances to his secluded pedophile island, and even his association with Donald Trump. However, what often goes unnoticed is the absence of the voices of Epstein's accusers. Estimates of the total number of girls allegedly abused by Epstein varies, with accounts ranging from a few dozen to over 100. The recent indictment charges Epstein with sexually exploiting and abusing dozens of underage girls at his homes in Manhattan, Palm Beach, and other locations, with allegations dating back as far as 2002. However, it seems likely that the total number of victims is much higher. Investigations into Epstein began in 2005, after the parents of a 14-year-old girl told Palm Beach police that Epstein had molested their daughter at his home. By 2008, when Epstein was granted his now infamous plea deal, federal prosecutors had identified 36 underage victims. A journalist who published a series of articles on the allegations against Epstein told the New York Times that early in the process of reporting, she received a heavily redacted police report that mentioned more than 100 Jane Does. In November 2018, identified about 80 women who alleged that they were molested or sexually abused by Epstein between 2001 and 2006. Epstein allegedly offered girls a bounty for bringing other underage girls into his orbit, which police say operated like a sexual pyramid scheme. Wild said that by the time she was 16, she had brought Epstein more than 70 girls, all ages 14, 15, 16, people going from 8th grade to 9th grade, who she recruited at school parties. In 2005, when the parents of a 14-year-old who said she was molested by Epstein first went to the Palm Beach police, the girl told them that an older friend, Haley Robson, who was 19 at the time, had offered her an opportunity to make money and drove her to Epstein's house one afternoon. When the police interviewed Robson, a local community college student, she told them that Epstein routinely paid her to bring teenage girls to his home. Robson told the girl that if Epstein asked, she should say she was 18. Epstein's 2008 plea deal, which allowed him to avoid federal prosecution by pleading guilty to soliciting a minor for prostitution in a Florida state court, was negotiated in secret, without informing Epstein's victims. That was intentional. Epstein's legal team's demands were often focused on shutting out victims to try to make the scandal go away as quietly as possible. Epstein and his lawyers have worked for years to keep his victims out of the press. Epstein's accusers have already filed 24 lawsuits against him, some dating back at least as far as 2009. None of these suits ever went to trial. Epstein settled some of them for over $1 million apiece. In the past, Epstein's lawyers have also tried to discredit his victims, many of whom are from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, by claiming that the girls lied about their ages or made up allegations to extract money. Courtney Wild, one of Epstein's victims, said, "As soon as that deal was signed, they silenced my voice and the voices of all of Jeffrey Epstein's other victims. Then, a federal judge ruled that Florida prosecutors broke the law by making the plea deal without the victim's knowledge." At Epstein's bail hearing on Monday, Assistant U.S. Attorney Alex Rossmiller said that since Epstein's arrest, several new alleged victims have approached investigators, and at least 2 more accusers have come forward since Epstein was denied bail yesterday.
With me standing up to him, I just wanted him to know, I don't care. I don't care how much money you have. I'm not a young girl anymore. I'm 31 and I'm gonna fight back. And it's not okay to sexually abuse anybody.
By the time she was 16, she had probably brought him 70 to 80 girls who were all 14 and 15 years old. Wild said that Epstein told her he wanted girls as young as I could find them, and that he wanted as many girls as I could get him. it was never
Every
enough.
girl that meets Jeffrey starts off with giving him a massage. The more you do with him, the more you make. If you let him do things to you, you're gonna make more.
Like do things, you mean touch you?
Yeah, touch you in inappropriate places. I was one of the girls that refused to do that. So after that, he's like, you know what? He's like, listen, I'll pay you $200 for every girl that you bring to me.
Other witnesses have testified in civil court that hundreds of girls were brought to Epstein's homes. Courtney Wild has been fighting for justice since 2011, when she and another anonymous victim sued the federal government to challenge Epstein's 2008 non-prosecution agreement, claiming that, by not informing victims of the deal, prosecutors violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act. A judge ruled in their favor earlier this year. Wild said that at the time she met Epstein, her mother was on drugs and couldn't provide for her. Jeffrey preyed on girls who were in a bad way, girls who were basically homeless, she said. He went after girls who he thought no one would listen to, and he was right. Virginia Giuffre is other victim. She first came forward in 2015, and her account is best known. In a sworn deposition taken in 2016, she said she was introduced to the financier Jeffrey Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of the British media titan Robert Maxwell. Giuffre was 16 at the time, spending her summer as an attendant at the spa at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's resort. According to the deposition, Maxwell told Giuffre she wanted to hire her as a masseuse. She promised Giuffre travel and an education. Giuffre accepted the offer. The abuse, she recalls, started soon after, with Epstein demanding sexual services for himself and some of his friends. In the deposition, Giuffre said, "My whole life revolved around just pleasing these men and keeping Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein happy. Their whole entire lives revolved around sex." Maxwell has denied the allegations. Gina Lisa Jones told that Epstein molested her when she was 14 and that she was paid $200 to give him a massage at his home.
She's like, yeah, he might make you take your shirt off, but it's not a big deal. He just likes the look. I really hadn't exposed myself like that before. I still went in the bathroom to change in front of my girlfriends, so I was very, very worried.
During the massage, she says, he told her to remove all of her clothing and fondled her. If you think at $14, $200, that's a lot of money at 14 years old, Jones said in a 2018 video, adding that the other girls she knew who visited Epstein came from trailer parks that were having gun shootings. Jones, now 30, said she's been in therapy for 10 years and has never told her therapist about Epstein's abuse. Nobody talked about it, she said. If I told anybody, they'd be like, "You're a whore. You wanted money. Why would you do that?" Nobody would understand. Teresa Helm, who had training as a massage therapist, met Epstein when she was 22 years old. She went to his mansion on the Upper East Side thinking it was a job interview. They were alone when he requested a foot rub. She agreed, but hesitated when he began touching her. She attempted to leave, but he was too strong. Eventually, she escaped the house and left New York. She kept the incident hidden for nearly 20 years until Epstein's arrest became public news this summer. Rachel Benavidez was hired straight out of school to work as a masseuse at Epstein's luxurious New Mexico ranch. She was only 25 years old. Initially, Maxwell was her client, but the abuse started after she was introduced to Epstein. It continued until she refused to sign a non-disclosure agreement when she turned 27. Chartouni, who was 20 at the time, had recently moved to New York in 2000. She recalls being invited by a friend she had known for a few months to Epstein's townhouse one morning. She thought they would just have coffee, but instead, her friend led her into a dark room where both Epstein and her friend assaulted her by removing her clothes. Chartouni felt frozen, waiting for it to end. Later that week, someone from Epstein's staff contacted her, wanting to see her again. She declined and distanced herself from her friend, who had deeply betrayed her trust. In 2002, she left New York and buried the incident until this past summer, when she finally confided in the police before telling her own husband. Is it better now? Chartouni isn't sure. She hasn't found the right words to describe it. Some people call it healing, but that term feels too burdened with expectations. She suggests trauma recovery as a possibly more fitting term.
Children need to be educated, and they need to be able to vocalize this when it is happening, because I think children just don't know how, and it's very shameful. It shouldn't have to be